They've already warned us. Unless something's done, there's going to be a lot of closures and a lot of reductions of services in these hospitals in rural areas and small town and inner city. That's a fact. If you want to give tax breaks to the wealthiest people and you don't care about the impact on the regular families of America, that's exactly what happened with the Republican tax bill. And that's the reason why Democrats did not support it. We believe that tax cuts should be geared toward working families who are struggling with affordability. President Trump gave a speech yesterday in Michigan and choked on the word affordability. He hates it. It's a Democratic word. It's a hoax. It's a fake. It's reality. It's reality. I don't know how often the President of the United States, and I'm sure he never has a chance, gets to go shopping at the local grocery store. I do so almost every weekend I'm home. I see what's happened to prices. My wife reminds me, other families remind me, the cost of living's gone up. And you could give tax breaks here and there and the other place, and primarily to wealthy people. It's not going to provide the kind of relief that working families desperately need. That's one of the issues that will be decided by the voters in the next election. Mr. President, on another topic, the year was 1939, and there was a ship that sailed from Germany destined for Cuba. It was bringing Jewish refugees from Europe that was falling into Nazi control to a free place to live in Cuba. Unfortunately, as that ship, the SS St. Louis, approached Havana, Cuba, it was turned away. They wouldn't allow those Jewish passengers to find freedom in Cuba at the time. They then appealed to the United States, to President Roosevelt and his administration, and they too turned them away. The ship got so close, according to press reports, they could actually hear the bands playing in the nightclubs in Miami, but they couldn't land their ship. And so they took the SS St. Louis back to Europe, 1,000 Jewish refugees. Many of them became victims of the Holocaust. It was a bitter lesson learned, particularly in time of war and strife, that there was a need for countries where there was peaceful situation to step up and do their part to try to help refugees and those seeking asylum. After World War II, the United States decided the SS St. Louis was a valuable lesson. We started leading the nations of the world in accepting refugees. It was an act of mercy, a humanitarian response to the reality that these people were facing. And we were proudly leading that effort for decades until very recently. Under this president, the whole situation and policy have changed. This administration is unfortunately highlighting a policy that turns away refugees. The Trump administration has diverted resources from law enforcement and national security efforts to focus on arresting immigrants who pose no threat to public safety. We've seen it in Chicago, we've seen it in Minneapolis and other cities. This administration is targeting legal immigrants who followed every rule and regulation. Over the past few months, the Trump administration has issued a flurry of new policies effectively ending lawful immigration for individuals from 39 countries. It harkens back to the bitter experience with the SS St. Louis. In November last year, President Trump used the tragic shooting of 2 National Guard members to justify a freeze on all new visas of Afghan nationals. Many of these visa applicants fought against the Taliban alongside American forces and now must flee Afghanistan to avoid punishment or death for the crime of working for us. President Trump has abandoned them. So much for loyalty. These men and women in Afghanistan decided they would risk their lives to stand by our soldiers during that conflict. They survived, and now they're asking us to protect them from the Taliban's excesses. The president has decided no thanks. He slammed the door on Afghan nationals who risked their lives to save the lives of American soldiers. And he didn't stop there. In addition to suspending visa applications for Afghan nationals, the Trump administration paused all asylum and refugee decisions. The Trump administration has extended broad immigration bans to anyone from 39 different countries, including individuals from those countries who are already in the United States. Going through an asylee claim, a refugee claim, playing by the book. It takes months and sometimes years in refugee camps. People go through extensive background checks before they're even considered to come to the United States. In this situation, those who have successfully made that journey are once again in jeopardy of the new Trump policy. The administration is reviewing again all legal immigration cases already approved for individuals from the banned nations. To be clear, this expansion is not limited to nationals of countries on the list. It also includes anyone who's been born in any one of those countries, even if they live the majority of their life somewhere else. My office has received reports that Canadians born in Iran have been impacted by this new Trump ban. There have even been reports that the ban has stopped parents who've completed every step of the adoption process for bringing their new babies to the United States. The administration has claimed this is about vetting immigrants to protect public safety. But tell me, does it make sense to deny entry for a baby for vetting reasons? What the president has done is bring down the hammer on those who are legally immigrating, what he calls, quote, from S-hole countries. Remember that phrase? When the president during his first term referred to those from Africa and Haiti in profane and racist terms in the Oval Office, at the time the White House denied having said that. But I was there, physically present, when the president made those statements not once but twice. I was in that meeting, and I confirm that he used those vulgar terms referring to people from other countries. 2 Republican senators publicly accused me of lying. Well, at a rally in Pennsylvania last month, President Trump bragged that he indeed used that slur that I referred to earlier. And at a cabinet meeting last month, he publicly called Somali immigrants, quote, garbage. The President of the United States referred to people from Somalia as garbage. Just yesterday, the administration announced the termination of Somali's designation for temporary protected status. TPS allows immigrants from a country that is unsafe to temporarily remain in the United States. Does the president really think Somalia is a safe or stable place for these individuals to return? I think not. He just doesn't care. These racist comments and policies have confirmed what we've known all along. The president has a deep-seated animus for immigrants who are not white. Throughout this past year, he has harnessed tragedies to justify his anti-immigrant crusade. First with the National Guard shootings and now with Minneapolis fraud allegations. We've heard it here on the floor of the Senate day after day. Last Friday, in the midst of federal immigration agents' assault on Minneapolis, the Department of Homeland Security began arresting recently arrived refugees in Minnesota. These refugees have already gone through intensive vetting, sometimes for years, before they've been allowed to come to the United States. They followed our laws. They came here, quote, in the right way. Now their lives will be turned upside down again to serve the president's political agenda. The fraud in Minnesota is serious and warrants continuing the investigation. But punishing thousands of refugees because of crimes they had nothing to do with is just plain wrong and inhuman. The Trump administration has tried to politicize this fraud investigation, but the first prosecutions for this fraud began in 2022 during the previous Biden administration. The administration says their immigration policies are intended to protect America. I'm calling their bluff. What have they done instead is to effectively halt legal immigration from a long list of countries, all of which have majority non-white populations. This was their real intention all along. Already the lives of people in our immigration system, particularly people of color, have been unfairly upended. Immigrants have seen their long-scheduled green card interviews canceled. Naturalization candidates have been pulled from their scheduled citizenship ceremonies. I know this to be true because it happened to my constituents who've reached out to our office. They are rightfully upset that the administration has stopped them as individuals after already approving them for citizenship. They can't take the oath of allegiance to our country, and they don't know where this process is going to end. My mother was a naturalized citizen to the United States. I keep her certificate framed in my office in the United States Capitol. Those who are willing to take the oath of allegiance to our country have become some of our most loyal citizens. My mom was one of them. We cannot abandon them. We must not allow America to turn its back on immigrants who followed every rule and make America stronger. It would be an affront to the Constitution and a retreat from our values and heritage as a nation of immigrants. Mr. President, this is an awful situation where helpless people are being exploited for political reasons. It is time for both political parties to step aside from the campaign for a moment and speak to the values that makes America a better country than most. I'm proud to be part of this country, but we are a nation of immigrants and should never forget it. I yield the floor.